Anyways, I'll play a video for the beginning and then I'll get into it. Okay. So, basically this is a software I'm building on top of VL, and I'm making it because I really love controlling lights with V4 and VL, because you can get super creative and connect anything to anything, but I really like over and over kept kind of dealing with the same things, and often I, like, with the way we work, I ended up doing things at the last moment, so then it gets quite messy and it's kind of hard to reuse whatever you make then. So I wanted to make some framework that could help me deal better with the things I keep dealing with again and again. I'm sure Kairos is doing something similar, but the approach is a bit different, and you'll see, and I think that both things eventually can complement each other. So boilerplate, like setting up output to DMX fixtures, outputs, or just like switching scenes, etc., etc. I also, as I always do things, often quite rushed, it like ends up being a huge spider web, and so I kind of try to find a way to reduce that and maybe completely avoid it. And also I often get a lot of ideas at the spot of what I want to patch, and it might be like an hour-long performance, and then like repatching something might take a while, and then you're losing a lot of time. So like how to increase patching speed to maximum while still being able to combine things such as you can in visual programming. You see this, and foster experimentation. So if I can just like do things and then like throw them away and do something else, and then maybe load it back all in the runtime without like messing things up too much, then I can experiment. And also it, like I had some experience before with other visual node kind of based systems and actual programming, so getting onto V4 and VL wasn't like that much of a challenge for me at the beginning, but for a lot of people it's like completely out there. So I also wanted to make it a bit like easier to approach, with the framework providing a lot of the things that may be tedious to patch, and then just get to the fun stuff and, you know, throw nodes around and do things. So what I came up with is almost entirely implemented in VL, except for a few paths that are in V4 and eventually will be ported to VL, I guess. There is no C# involved other than libraries that I'm using externally. I ended up sort of making a new visual language that has no links, but they're kind of implicit based on the structure of the nodes, and also layout. You have like no way to put things around, and you can't even make a mess because it's like just from the structure of the code you get the layout. And a really simple way to add a fixture, just like adding a node in V4, you can just double click and it's done. And you can experiment a lot because each fixture or device that is set up in the software has its own patch that you can edit, and it's not connected to the other patches in like. You can load sort of like from like a prototype library that you can create, but then you can edit the patches as you want, and then maybe save it as a new one, or just go back to something, whatever. It's integrating quite well with V4, as it's like in VL, it's in V4 category, and there's utilities for many of the inner data types, so you can also inject things in there and like take things out and then process them in V4 if, for instance, you're missing an output. I was using like WS 2812 output through OctoWS that is made in V4, so I didn't have to remake it in VL, or output to NTEC USB DMX is also really easy in like V4, so it's kind of like eventually everything should be in VL, but there's already a huge library, huge library of contributions for V4, so it's nice to be able to use them sometimes. The main UI is completely based on Schéma, so it's 2D, even so I'm doing some 3D-ish things. And there's a number of widgets to display all sorts of aspects that are being generated, so I wasn't show in the demo. And I can just add more of them, and I'll show that. Eventually it will need a proper 3D sort of visualization of the scene, and I hope that by the time that I really need it, it will be possible to do it. Somehow integrating it with Xenco, and also which will need both the Xenco integration and Schéma to sort of like the library to sort out its hardware rendering off screen, because otherwise it's really slow. There is audio reactivity. Right now it's done through like externally feeding from V4 audio analysis, and then it's used all over the program. But it can be fed from anything else, and there is now the new audio library, which I guess as it will expand, it will make this easier to put the audio analysis inside VL. And I also wanted it to make it in a way that I can just set it up to switch scenes on its own based on some rules, and then leave it running so it can do that and run headless without any monitor, or just with a MIDI control to switch between like atmospheres, and then it doesn't. Okay, demo 1. So this is kind of a very basic setup, and it's made in a modular way. So the main thing here is the runtime that deals with computing all the nodes and all the behaviors. Then separately is the UI of the editor that you can even implement different kinds of editors, and you can disable it or completely remove it. It will still run, saving performance. Very similar to Kairos. Then here is sort of runtime for various controllers, and injecting the audio analysis. Let's just do this, and that's it. The same thing could be done in VL, so it's not it doesn't rely on V4. It's just because I was doing other things in V4. This is kind of just a simplified patch, so it's the thing. And so the basic workflow here is that you have a scene where you can add fixtures. It's a 3D scene, and so you can have different output modules. They can just register into the runtime. You can create a new output module in a new document, and then just register it, and it will show up here. I'll show it in a bit. For now, the Arden module is loaded. That has the IP address set in a config file, but it should be in the UI eventually. And then inside the module, there's various mappings that will take the values generated by the software and output them to DMX values. I plan to support GDTF now. It's various patches that are either based on some expressions or just like really patches like going in the console. So, and now when we have this, we have this stack of blocks that are generating the behaviors, and you just sort of throw them on. So by holding control, it kind of opens this place where you can put things, and the idea is that there's a bunch of like really broad categories based on the context where you want to use them. So you would usually start with a source that would generate some aspect like colors or rotations for moving heads or gobos or whatever, and I can start with this easy one. So here you can see that it's setting a value, and just notice that everything is already visualized what's like going on. You can see straight away in the block. If you zoom out, you get sort of a cleaner look, and so we can see we're like generating a black color now a white color, and I can drive this value with another stack like this. So I could put an LFO here, for instance, and now I can see like the value being visualized here. And when you mix the aspects, then everything you can like it layers on top.
Quick question.
Yeah, sure.
Why did we read new before and now we read value?
Because it's two different stacks, and the new it's like untitled. I can say it, and the value is like the name of this stack because it's like for value here, and it is slightly confusing. Eventually this should just like pop up next to it, or somehow that you can see everything at once. Mm-hmm. Just like, going from there. And you can very easily map like from to kind of like in Arena, and you get that. And I want the nodes to be sort of slightly higher level than like standard nodes. So already some things that you would do very often you get straight in the node, like changing the wave shape and such things. Then what you can do is put operators, and I can just copy this, paste it here, and without doing any links, it's already just by the structure it's like going up from there. It sort of like understands that it just takes everything. Of course, you can also do something that doesn't make sense, but you can replace things, and eventually it should also shout at you that it maybe doesn't make sense. But also this operator is done in a way that you can put any kind of aspects in there, and it will just put them together. So if I put here, for instance, also a color, then it's adding both the colors and the values. Just like there's a type switch. I'm not saying is the most efficient way to do it, but I'm sort of trying to focus on the usage efficiency and then maybe find ways to optimize it more. But it's for most installations that I used, it was completely working completely fine. So and I can just click here, change it to multiply or maybe a crossfader. Now I'm fading between the two.
Can you now control the fader, crossfade fader?
Yes. If I'll just take this and.
You have then a new like.
Yeah. The thing is that right now the drivers are only supported from the root level.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's like. I'm sure it's doable, but already to get this working without recursion support was kind of a pain.
You can do recursion. Just put it into a spread and you're fine. Still.
No, it's maybe it's like a tree structure, and you need to like evaluate the children and get the values, and I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to do it, and then but it should be doable just for now. It's like just one level, and so then I could drive this, and for instance, if I want to put MIDI, I can just put here like controller, and this doesn't work now. Why? Let me check. Some things are super messy, so some things are okay. Yeah. Right. I think I need to reset V4. It should be quick. So also for the control, I'm trying to like just have the standard MIDI mapping that you like map just a MIDI note to a value, and then in the end you have like a huge mess of just like assignments without any structure. So it's right now it's a two-step process where you map the actual like sort of the physical layout of the controller, and then you like get it. You can assign labels to it, or just even just having the layout means that then you can display like a physical layout of the MIDI mapping, like where is something on the controller, and since like just by changing the behavior the mapping can change, it can be really useful. Like some controllers have displays that you can use to show it, but most don't, the cheaper ones. So it's halfway there. So that should be there. Let's hope it will work now. But most of the time the MIDI works, even like unplugging and replugging, and sometimes it just decides to give up. I don't know. But it's the library.
Still a sad story.
Yeah. Okay, let's just see if it's getting it now. Okay, it looks better. So I could have saved it. I didn't. Also, like like clicking through a lot of things like over and over is a bit tedious. So what you can do is like favorite nodes, and then you can just display favorites straight away. So if you're using something very often, you can put that. So now if I put and there's a column, and I can switch between different input modes, and hopefully now it's still not working. Should have brought the Xbox controller, that's more reliable now. But in any case, theoretically it works. Now I put the random fading. It's there. So there's there was the sources operators. There's also like picks that just choose one based on something like either just after a time, and here's another like UI feedback, or like sort of like a progress bar that if there's something that has some progression, it will show this. And there's some randomization that you can just like throw in very easily, which means that this is like randomizing the interval. And now if I put more lights, for instance, and apply this behavior to all of them, then since I have the randomization on, you can see that they're just like each doing their own thing, and I can now go and adjust each to my liking. And sometimes this is very nice. Sometimes you want to control them in a group. Right now it's best done with like a media mapping or something, and eventually it should be possible to like just sort of like select more of them, and then if it like sort of fits, then adjust the same parameters at once. Let me do this. Okay, audio, maybe. Okay, so now what's happening is that there's some basic audio analysis in V4 with beat detection on for bands and tempo detection, and it's creating a audio state object that is then fed here into global properties of the runtime, and this widget is using. I mean, you can like see the beat and things, and the power and sort of like a averaged hover over the last 2 minutes or so. So it's kind of relative to the song that's actually right now playing. So if it like changes to a bit lower, you can use this to change like in sort of like longer intervals and just like on beats. And then I can use the audio for instance here, and here it's set to, this is a beat flash that flashes on beats. you can set which frequency band you want, and probability, which again works for each separately. So even though they're all reacting to the same beat, you can do so they don't all flash at once. And there is also, you can set it original. Now it's like chilled, so there's nothing. Yeah. Now they're going. And you can also use the beats to generate values with ADSR on it or with it. And so then there's effects that you put sort of like to affect things, just like one in, one out. And so here, for instance, just like flickerize, that's based on the value. Or what's quite fun is a repeat effect. I can just put in here like this, and eventually it should be also synchronized to beats, and if you like combine it with MIDI mapping, then you can trigger the record like for the different things. You can like also different lengths and do a few things, and like you have like any kind of movement that you want repeated over and over. And this actually also, if I save this, now I can do whatever else I want. And I can load it back, and it's still inside. Thanks to the it kind of was really for free with VL. It's just like serializing the behavior, and it's in the pad, and it just goes there. The XML is kind of long, but yeah, because also like the thing is that to like make all this sort of flexibility work, inside it's I made like I call it property bank, but basically it's a dictionary with like that holds objects, and you can put anything in, and then in the serialization it also needs like to define the type for everything. But it's really flexible, and you can put it, and then I have loads of helper functions that sort of take the right objects from it. And when you have the audio coming in, you can also use it, for instance, for picking, and here's so here I can set the threshold of sort of like where it skips to the next one, and notice that it's like in between the blocks, and it will just like there will be more of them as you put them in. You can set the various thresholds, and then it will just like go one after the other. It probably should shout in this case because it will never get there, but or it will skip. But yeah, now it's chill, and here the progression just shows this. good from the show, like in relation to this, but the idea would be same. Or like this same thing, but not between, but for each of them. Yeah. Isn't that just I can do it. They don't want to fuck up the levels and like there's.
Also, just briefly, we're now like half an hour in.
Okay, I'll speed up.
Yeah.
Sure. So here for like, see, here's like the same thing, but not in between. I can set like sort of like a time plan. If I had some event, you can set times, and it also understands midnight, so it will like sort of go over. If I set something like this, then it will be between 6 and 3 a.m. And which it now is, so yeah, it goes here. And there's this for like as I was talking about they can also work autonomously. It's kind of using this director, which can assign the various behaviors to the various lights in like given groups, or sort of like global color or stuff like that, and throw errors because the default doesn't exist there. Yeah, so if I put this, yeah, and it does it with a fade, which is just another block that when it's finished it kills itself and it like replaces itself with like next branch, so you can have like number of fades just like properly fading, and then they will just kill themselves and replace. See there. And this can since I'm talking about groups, there's groups here. There's new. I can add new group. There's a group. Now if I want to add something else in the group, I can select it. I can remove the groups and then the sign can replace. Okay. And it's also quite nice, but I'm not actually controlling any lights, so I didn't bring any DMX lights with me, but what I did bring is this OSC based dimmer that now I just plug in the runtime and it should show up in a second. There's another phone. There should be something better. 2 seconds. Okay. And right now it lit up, but it already got assigned the animation by the director. So maybe I'll just take this away. Okay. Okay, now we have this, and I can put another one. Is it on now?
Yeah, it's on.
What about the other one?
The other one, no, it's off.
Okay, well, whatever. Yeah, so this is it's like completely transparent to the user if he's outputting to ArtNet or OSC or whatever else. Is just another module that pops up and then you put it in. The address right now it's also set, but for these I want them to reply on the networks to be able to list all of them, and then they will just show up in the UI if you have more, you can see them. And okay, I think I'll just skip to the other one quickly. Which is using more of the fact that everything is in 3D space can be used for also sort of like distance-based animations and etc. etc. So this has external visualization in the X11, which is from an installation that was. Now it works. Okay. It was from an installation where there's LED strips with totaling to about 6,000 pixels. So these animations are done with instance noodles on the V4 side, and then it's fed back into the program. And here's just a note like fill external. It's like fill from external source. You can have various slots, and when you use it, it tells V4 that it's being used. So if it's not used, you can disable the computations, and if it's used, you can enable them. And so you can see this like plane going through things, and the position of the rotation of the plane is also driven from the program, so you can control the various animations. And I was like always it's kind of annoying to set like positions and sort of ranges and things. So since the program knows what like how big the groups are and where they are, you can just set things relative to groups. So if I put it like to the center of the bar, it's in the center of the bar. I don't have to like find anything. And here I have the primary color. If I change it, everything changes because it's using the primary color. Maybe I'll skip this. It's just a grid that takes MIDI numbers and things, and then
Grid that takes MIDI numbers. Yes.
You want to see it?
No, I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah. So what I have planned near term is adding multi-user support, because I also want to make it a multiplayer experience. If there's like more people with the program, you should be able to share the fixtures, and then I reckon like send you. I want to do it probably through OSC, and then you'll just get like a source node that can receive from other people, and with various like merging options of like getting it together and filter aspects. So like let's say even if you have like one moving head, someone can play with the movement, someone can play with the color and etc. And it shouldn't really be that hard. Yeah, this I talked about. So it's already halfway there with the grid, and I just need to add labels to the mapping, and then sort of I can just display whatever is mapped physically where. And an important thing is layers, where I want to be able to sort of have like base layer and then sort of like more affecting layers for where you can just like let's say you want to dim a group, like you always want to do that, and then you want to put some behaviors on top, so it should like go in steps and for everything, and that will help things a lot. And release an alpha version for everyone to play around and use, even though it's still probably going to be quite experimental for a while, and I'm going to be changing a lot of things, but I think it's already quite.
Are you planning to sell it?
I want to employ, I guess, the trust model as well in a way, plus with a monthly fee for like permanent installations. I'm also setting up a Patreon, and I think it would kind of like set it back if it was like paid, since it's also using loads of like free libraries and contributions. it should, I think, also be available like that. And also, technically, it's kind of hard to protect VL source, I think.
Not forever.
Until it's compilable, but it's also nice if you want to extend it, and kind of it's good to have the access to it.
You have announced a workshop about it, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a workshop on the weekend in Prague. It's not gonna be just the software, but also just like sort of an introduction to like DMX fixtures and MIDI and OSC, and then playing around with the software. Yeah, you can see here flashing a moving heads like visualization. If I could just, let's prove this one. I don't know why not all of them are there.
Does it feel good to use live?
It feels very good to use live. That was kind of there's like more points, but one of the main points was that I often like end up using before live, and then sort of like I really get like just like
What's the
really
performance?
huh?
What's the performance? Like in this particular one, it's low because
yeah, because I'm recording, and because of the 3D
you're
and
feeding it back somehow, right?
The readback contributes.
No, the readback's not so bad, but this is an integrated GPU, so it's kind of not helping a lot. So, and it's more CPU. This is like probably the most complicated setup that I've used it for so far, and everything smaller runs really well, depending. And
Are the ArtNet messages combined in VL?
yeah. I just here you can see the visualization of the position. I can, so if you want, I can go in the VL for a sec. There's this mess that needs to be categorized. Yeah, there's lots of to-dos. Basically, the output is done like this. There's ArtNet output, which implements an like common output interface, so you can have various output modules, so like the OSC module, like just some output, or the ArtNet. Right now, this is by code, but it should be loaded from a list of like supported fixture mappings, and here it sort of tells the program the various possibilities that are supported, and here like all the outputs get all the fixtures fed in. They can take the like setup of the fixture, like the channel or other things. Here is taking the channel and the model to know which mapping to use, and then it gets the mapping from these mapping which are all implementing like a mapping interface. So here, this one is sort of generic-ish with where you can just put expressions that take various things. And here is like for the head, moving head, sort of like here's there's like a color wheel, so it's like matching the colors on the color wheel, so you don't have to do it manually. Like when you put red, it finds the red on the color wheel, etc., etc. And then it takes it and gets the state that's being generated by the blocks, runs it through the mapping, the mapping outputs the DMX values. It puts them on the right channel with the spread builder, goes clamps it just to make sure, and puts everything out in the ArtNet. And here it's taking like ArtNet IP, also made a little config tool for I have a JSON file with configuration where that I can also like put few of them, and they will like it will like try further the last one if it like it overrides values with the last config file, so you can have a base config and then like layer on top.
Is that your question?
Yeah.
How many different fixtures or fixture types are you dealing with?
Right now, this is all of it. But
So it's, those are different fixture types?
yeah, those are different fixture types, but they should be made much more generic and probably supporting formats like GDTF and other like fixture sharing formats. And if you have something very special, you can patch it, and it's slightly, but it's kind of straightforward. You just need to fill the right values and like the right channels with the right values, and you're already getting the various aspects from the program, and you just need to map them to the right place. And then the OSC output looks very similar, but it's outputting to OSC. There's no RNN output like for each device. It's its own OSC. This is the interface. It's like here. It's set hard set, but it's not how it's going to stay.
Okay, so I think we should probably wrap it up here, but crazy, I would say.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
Yeah.